Does that allow me to do it? Did that come up for you now?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
All right. Well, I'm sorry. I don't seem to see how to make that work here. So let me try to get back to where we were.
Okay.
PowerPoint. And that's not the one. This is the one. Stop sharing. Stop sharing. All right. If I put this up. No. Oh, where'd you go? Oh, there's everybody. And share screen and, oh, okay, here we go. Where are my rules? There we go. So these are, can you see them now? You still seeing the same thing?
No, I can see them now.
Okay. Does it say exempt class on your?
Julie, I'm just seeing your files.
Yeah, I'm just seeing
your
your file menu.
Did they got copies of the rules though? Did the mayor?
Yeah, they have copies of the rules. I'll go back to sharing this if I can. I just have to get there now.
Yeah, because if you have copies of the rules, it's in the back in the appendices. It lists any title that's outside of the competitive class would be in the back of that book.
Okay.
All right. All right, so you're screen sharing this, okay. Stop sharing, and then if I go here, I'll try sharing again, share screen, and get back to this. Are we there again for you guys?
Let's see.
So
It says,
PowerPoint?
yeah, it says New York State Civil Service Law.
Okay.
Yeah, we're on the PowerPoint.
Yep.
So let's see. So we do jurisdictional classification, recruitment of personnel, and we receive all personnel changes and make those changes in the roster record. And we'll let you know if you are not abiding by some of the civil service rules, and we'll work with you to make sure that that will be taken care of. So let's see. What's this say? So the rules are adopted by the municipal civil service and have the force and effect of law. So again, these are the things that we're doing to help you. These are all the things that require a pink sheet. So a pink sheet is a personnel notification of change. Just because somebody a long time ago had a sense of humor, we actually have their pink. So we have to be notified every time any changes are made. If you add somebody, if you do a rate increase on them, you know, like a raise, or, you know, your union personnel, whenever you have the negotiated changes to their pay scales, we need pink sheets on all of those events. Greg Sten is working on becoming the expert in municipal civil service. So he just started as a trainee about a year ago. And so we'll work on making sure that he is an expert. Christy is tutoring him expertly. So if you are doing a layoff, we do need advance notice kinds of things. So when we make changes to our civil service rules, we have to have a public hearing. The public is welcome. We have to advertise that in the local papers, and then after any rules are changed, and we send that to the state civil service for approval. So position classification is the grouping together under a common and descriptive title positions that are substantially similar and essential in character and scope of duties and responsibilities and qualifications and requirements, which is just a long definition of what we are talking about when we say position classification. And that means before any new position in the civil service division shall be created, or any existing position in such, I can't read that word there, shall be reclassified. The proposal, therefore, including the statement of duties of the position, shall be referred to the municipal commission having jurisdiction, and as such, commission shall furnish a certificate to the appropriate civil service title for the proposed position or the position to be reclassified. In other words, you have to tell us what you're doing. So there, we have a thing called new position duty statements when you're creating a new position. I work with Christy or Greg or myself to adopt what your minimum qualifications are and what those principal duties of that position will be. And then we can create that job title here in my office. We have to do that first before we can order, and then get it into our rules, and before we can start ordering tests and finding qualified candidates. So it's a lengthy process, and it can be a little daunting. You have any comments about that, Christy? We can't hear you.
No, I had to unmute.
Okay.
No, I don't. I guess just any new position we get the duties for, and we take a look at it and create a job specification with minimum qualifications, and all new positions are considered competitive and require an exam unless we're able to, get it outside of that competitive class and into our rules.
Okay. Thank you. So I think that, yeah, classified before creation, this is just reiterating what created only with a certified title. Commission has the authority to do that, and the structure goes like this. Appointing authority is the structures, the position. The title happens in civil service, and the creation belongs to your legislative body. Like, I think you have your, on your city council, they would be in the city, they would be the people who would create the position after all those other things had taken place. Jurisdictional classification is different from position classification. It assigns the position to either a competitive, non-competitive, exempt, or labor class, or to the unclassified service, and we'll get some definitions around that. So classified is all positions that are competitive, non-competitive, labor, exempt, clerical. It includes the clerical, teachers, aides, custodians, and bus drivers. Unclassified would be like teachers. They have a certificate, and they're covered under NYSED instead of civil service and the New York State education. So that is what that looks like. Approval from the State Civil Service Commission is required to remove a position from the competitive class. We do that very rarely, very rarely. The requesting agency must demonstrate that competitive examination is not practical. Positions for which it is practical to determine merit and fitness of the application by competitive examination, and that's the meaning of competitive. What Christy just said, all positions are presumed competitive. Positions for which it's not practical to ascertain the merit is non-competitive of applicants. So it means an exam wouldn't, there's no examination they could make that would make it them able to get a list of eligible people. So exempt class are deputies of a principal executive office, like the mayor is exempt, and one secretary of each municipal body or commission is authorized. You know, they're all authorized to have one exempt secretary. Positions of which competitive or non-competitive examination be found not to be practical. So those are all considered exempt. Very often, like department heads are exempt in the county, and at the city level, I think some department heads would be exempt and others are competitive, like your police chief is a competitive. Labor class are unskilled laborers whose positions can be examined for competitively. Non-competitive under the appointment process. Appointments effective after non-competitive examination prescribed by the municipal service. Such non-competitive examination is usually a review of the candidate's application as prescribed by the local rule. And the Labor Municipal Commission may require applicants to qualify in examinations as many may be deemed practicable. Typically, like labor class, we don't have any tests, do we, Christy? We've never tested for any of our labor class.
Sorry, no, there's no qualifications for labor class positions.
Okay. So exempt appointment according to procedures established by the municipal civil service. Vacancies must be reviewed within 4 months of occurrence. Competitive appointments are through the examination process. Open competitive refers to filling an entry-level position. And when we do the job announcement, it'll say OC or open competitive. It's open to anyone who meets the minimum qualifications of the job description. For a promotional, it's open to only employees in lower level titles. And that's where I was talking about the civil service is meant to be a career path. So, you know, you can move up into different titles through promotion. So examination announcements will always have minimum qualifications, subjects of the examination, and will be advertised per our local rules. And you can find where we advertise in our local rules. Some municipalities or the county may require residents first. And then after we've exhausted the list of residents in the municipality who are eligible, then we can move on to other people in the list. So the residents, we can limit it to only residents to participate in the examination or preference, or we can do it by preference in the certification process. And if you don't require residents to apply, but you might require them to live within your community or within the city after appointment within a certain amount of time. Steps in the examination process: review the classification, specification, tentative scope to civil service, appointing authority reviews and comments, the announcement, and then these are the types of examinations. We have written multiple choice essay or simulation. We've offered all of those. We're doing one on Saturday. So it is a little more that it's not just a multiple choice. Training and experience is where we take your application, compare it to the minimum quals, and make sure that you possess all of the qualifications required, like a degree in whatever the discipline is, if it's a 4-year degree, or years of experience, or hours of experience, you know, doing certain tasks. So it's very important that candidates who fill out the civil service application be very, very detailed and tell us how long you did something, whether it was full or part-time. Do you want to add anything to that, Christy?
Yeah, well, the training and experience, we do that like for our healthcare workers, and we do, like, they get so many points based on how many years of experience and what type of education or continuing education. And then there's a point system and a scale, and that gives them a score. And then they go on an eligible list as if it's same as people who do the written exams. It's just a quicker and a more efficient way to get people, you know, a score and on a list.
Okay. And performance examinations are similar, like a physical examination, and our law enforcement and firefighter examinations. They're 2-part. There's a written exam and the physical agility test. So that's what they mean by performance. And you have to pass both parts in order to be put on the list and be eligible for permanent appointment. Eligible list may last from 1 to 4 years, and that's determined by my office. Promotion list, you always use if you offer an exam promotionally and open competitive, we're obligated to use the promotion list first and then the open competitive, okay? So when we talk about the top 3, this is where everyone gets confused, and this is you know, we explain this all the time, and it's best just to have a kind of a visual. So we talk about the rule of 3, the top 3 persons certified by the Civil Service Commission. So I'm just going to run some examples, and Christy, chime in here if you would like. So you must request a certified eligible list, and like I said before, you can request residents first, and you can the certified eligible list lasts only 30 days. So once we send that to you, you have 30 days to sign it and pick someone on that list, or if everyone declines, ask for a new list. Once it's expired, no appointments can be accepted for a new you have to just ask for a new list. Non-selected candidates must be informed. In other words, you have to send them a letter or call them and let them know why, or, you know, that they were not selected. You don't have to say why or anything. You just say, we did not select you, but, you know, you have to select from those most qualified individuals. So count down 3 names from the top of the list, everyone ranked above or tied with the score with this 3rd candidate is reachable. So we're going to do some examples. So on this one, you can see that this person is reachable. They had a score of 100, you had 95. So those are the only 3 people you're going to see on your certified eligible list on that one. On this one, everyone had a 90, so you'll see those 3. And you'd only see 3 people on your certified eligible. But like this one, you have 2 90s and 4 85. So you would see all of those names, and you could pick any one of those names, the best candidate that suits, you know, whichever one meets your, is most desirable for your office. So that is what that looks. Do you guys have any questions about that? Any questions? Okay. All right. Provisional appointments. In the absence of an eligible list, you can appoint a person temporarily. We will order the exam, and then, the exam can take, right now, we are stymied by COVID-19. We haven't been allowed to conduct our examination process. Things are being rescheduled and postponed indefinitely at this time. So we've been having some problems with that, but when we're back on track again and you do a provisional appointment, you'll appoint, and then we'll offer the exam. And when they take the exam, they have to score, in the top 3 in order to be appointed. And if they do not, then you have 60 days to remove them from the position and appoint someone from the list who did meet those requirements. So, temporary appointments, you can appoint as long as they meet the minimum qualifications. You can appoint anyone you need to for up to 6 months, but never beyond 6 months. If it's going to be beyond 6 months, you have to use a certified eligible list. And you would order that from our office. Non-competitive lists are positions for which minimum qualifications are established by the local civil service commission, but for which competitive examination is not practical. These would be like our CDL drivers. We don't have a test for CDL drivers. They have a CDL license that says they can drive a truck, so we consider that a non-competitive. Christy, you want to talk any more about non-competitive?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay.
Yeah, you just check their qualifications.
Okay. Labor class appointment by can be affected by the appointing authority and notification by using a pink sheet. You have to tell us. I mean, yeah, you get to do what you want, but you have to tell us what you're doing. So, and that's like laborers and cleaners and food service. Exam class. These are like deputies, mayors, the undersheriff, county attorney. Those are all exempt. You can, if you want to know about probationary terms, you can read that in the rules. And Section 75 deals with discipline, but we'll, if we do not, Section 75 applies to all civil service employees unless they have a bargaining unit that they're a part of. So it covers competitive, classified, non-competitive, except when they're designated policy and influencing and confidential. So any non-competitive person who has 5 years of continuous service will have Section 75 rights. That means they have protection and can ask for a hearing if you try to terminate them, okay? And that's just saying that we are going to comply with civil service law and regulations. Any person employed or is appointed outside of the civil service process is taking on the responsibility of paying for that person's wages. And if we find out you use taxpayer dollars to pay someone who is not appointed according to civil service, we can demand that through the legal process that you refund all of those dollars back to the taxpayers, and that you shall be responsible to pay that individual all of their wages out of your own money. So that is the penalty for using a process outside of the civil service process to employ people. And that just talks a little bit more about that. Our responsibility is to do reports, and so we provide reports and keep a roster record. We have to do an annual report to the State Civil Service. So that's civil service kind of boiled down, and try to give you a quick overview and not bore you to tears. That's my 30-minute version of civil service. I still
Very
don't
good.
know it all, and I've been here 6.5 years.
Well, good. I learned a few things that I didn't realize. Does anybody have any questions for Julie?
Julie,
I do.
Julie,
Yes.
this is Daniel Gayton. Do you see your guys' wait list and test people signing up for tests? Do you see them increasing or decreasing right now over like the past 24 months?
Well, the past year has been a really big challenge. We have a lot of people who've applied for exams because they're out of work, or they're laid off, or they're on unemployment, but we haven't really been, we had a brief window in November where we were able to offer a couple of exams, and then the surge happened right after Thanksgiving, and we had to cancel our December exams. There have been some challenges with applicants for the law enforcement positions, I think, and that's been a real challenge. Christy, you see a lot more of it because you're processing those pink sheets on a daily basis. What are your thoughts on that?
About, are you talking about how many applicants we're getting, or as far as us being able to hold the exams?
I'm talking about the number of applicants. Prior to COVID, I know COVID threw a monkey wrench in everything, but prior to COVID and up to now a little bit, like the past 24 months, have you guys seen an increase of people wanting to take the exam, or a decrease in people wanting to take the exam over prior years?
I feel like it's been pretty steady. It kind of goes with the economy, and back like when I first came into the department and the economy was bad, our numbers skyrocketed. And then as things got better, there were fewer candidates, and it's been pretty steady, I would say, the last couple years. I do think recently with COVID and everything and people being out of work, we've seen them applying, especially like for our entry-level clericals, more of those applications, and we are pretty backlogged because we haven't been able to hold those. But I would say, overall, it's pretty steady.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
Yeah, I had a couple of clarification questions. Unskilled labor, why would you make an unskilled labor position competitive? In the labor, I thought Julie said in the labor class that you might make an unskilled position competitive. I may have misunderstood.
Yeah, no, if it's like a cleaner, food service helper, unskilled labor should be in the labor class where there's no qualifications. Anybody could be hired for those jobs.
Okay, and my second clarification was, and I think she said this, it was part of the New York State Constitution, as far as practicable, what does that mean? Because to me, it sounds like government language we use when we're trying to dance.
That means, in my opinion, everyone will give you a different idea of what practicable is. I mean, to me, it has the State Civil Service Office made it something that we can examine, and are the requirements such that we can compare the education or experience to the minimum qualifications and do an assessment about the skill set needed to be effective in service to the taxpayers. That to me is what is practicable. Christy, do you want to weigh in on that?
You're muted, Christy.
Sorry. Okay, I have a couple examples. Sometimes we'll order an exam. We'll have like a title and okay, it's competitive because it's not outside. And the state will come back to us and say, no, it's not practical. Like phlebotomist, for instance. We ordered a written exam for phlebotomist and they're like, no, we don't have a test for that. So they said, you should ask for it to be a non-competitive position where you're just looking to see if somebody, holds that certification or license. We had another one recently for a personal care aide where the state came back and said, no, we don't have it's not practical for us to test for this either. So it's usually things that are requiring some sort of a certification anyways, that they just don't feel like there's a written exam, that they can give for it. So,
they do the same thing with nurses, registered nurse, LPN, and nurse aides. Those are all licenses or certificates that you get from the state, like a beautician does. So we wouldn't test for any of those things that have those certificates or license.
Okay. Julie, I have a question. Do you see in the near future any areas that the state is going to update on the testing process? I know I've heard people, they have told us that they took a test for a certain thing and there's things on the test that really didn't pertain to that position. Do you see any of that being updated?
Well, the testing services does continually review the tests and processes, and they want to make sure that and Christy will probably back me up on this, they're testing for an aptitude in a job, not necessarily, the activities of the job. So do they have the ability to make decisions, or do they know about the laws regarding human resources if it's a human resources specialist?
Right.
That kind of thing. So do they have an aptitude in decision making? Like if it's a supervisory, they'll give several scenarios and they'll have to answer a series of questions based on the scenario. What's a best practice, or what's the law say? What's the hierarchy of decision making here? And and while the situation may never happen in the job, it speaks to their ability to reason logically, and that's what they're testing for sometimes. Okay. I know that it's a common complaint, but they are reviewing the testing processes, and I am the treasurer for the New York State Association of Personnel Officers, and the personnel officers are sending a very long list of positions that we believe should be training and experience, and so that we can establish lists without waiting for testing services to produce a valid test that we can have an examination for. So I think the whole COVID will drastically change civil service in the future, but it's a bureaucracy, it's a government, and I think we won't see the full effect of these changes for 5 to 8 years that this whole crisis has caused. We're moving a very big stone.
Okay, thanks.
I have one more question for you. And maybe this is just a futuristic question looking forward. Do you see New York State Civil Service ever actually bringing itself up to today's technology standards and allowing people to take their civil service exams without having to show up in a room with a pen and pencil?
I see that the pen and pencil might go away. I can see that. Do I think that the room and the computer go away? No. I think they'll move to a model something like Prometrics, because my professional certificates require me from time to time. If I want a new certificate, I'll have to go to take a study course and sit at a Prometrics site and do a test in high security. The last time I went, they took away all of my jewelry, all of my belts and shoes, put those in a locker, patted me down and wanded me before I went into the test site. Then I had, 4.5 hours to complete my test, and I had to complete it in order to get my certificate for a personnel, a senior personnel professional, or a senior certified professional in human resources. Exams could be offered at testing sites, or civil service might move to a model where we have a bank of computers or laptops that are loaded with the exams, and I could see us move into something like that to facilitate that. But the examination process being eliminated, or you being allowed to do it at your home, I don't see that in New York State, but I will tell you how it works in Pennsylvania and Oregon and other states. Is all positions are training and experience exams. So they give you a series of questions, and you have to give little essays about how you would handle different situations. And because I used to live in Pennsylvania and I have applied for jobs in other states, so you have to answer all of those, and you may or may not get called for an interview, and those are all training and experience. My son lives in Pennsylvania, and he's applied for a lot of state jobs, and he has a master's degree from Penn State in organizational development, and he was applying for a human resources specialist type job, and he didn't pass it because he didn't answer one of their questions the way they wanted to. So those are very subjective. It depends on the reader of those essays. The criteria in those states are more subjective than New York State. New York State tries to be very objective and not have that kind of process. So it's more cut and dried here, I think, when you look at the process and what they're testing for and looking at. It's clear that a person will have better success in a position using our exams, in my opinion.
Okay.
Well, I agree with you about having to go to a place and being almost stripped of your dignity. It just happened to me last month when I had to renew my certification. But the best part about it was when I walked out of there, I actually had my test results right there and score right on the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a good feeling.
It's kind of like when they ask you what your opinion is and tell you you're wrong on your opinion.
That happens too.
Julie or Christy, one of the questions one of the things asked so far in this committee has been, they want to know about study aids that people can get to help with taking some of these civil service tests. I know the state had some study aids on their site. Is there anywhere else that people can go, or do you have any ideas on where people can get study aids to take these tests?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Christy.
Yeah, you're right. The state, for certain titles, the state does have study guides. And really, those are the only ones that we are supposed to tell people about or talk about. But I will tell you, CSCA, I don't know if the city is affiliated with them. They have good study guides. So I would say, like, if employees can go to their unions, because unions are good about having the study material. I know people have told me libraries going online. It's just kind of tricky because we can't say those are, going to be the things that are on the test. So usually what I tell people on the exam announcement, it gives the subjects of examination, they all do. It gives graph about what you know, what the section is going to be. So I tell people to really pay attention to those. And then if you are looking for study material, make sure it's relevant to what those subject areas are, rather than just looking for a book on a certain title. It'll be like, you know, and interpreting tabular information or something. So instead of searching out a book for the title you're taking, search for study material on interpreting material, you know, in that way. So that's my recommendation.
Yeah, okay, so that's real similar. There's a lot of other professions that essentially do that too. They have the aptitude tests, and they're really not testing on the actual position, or actual subject matter, but critical thinking, that type of thing, or like you said, whatever's listed for that test. So it'd be better to steer people into the direction of the topics covered as opposed to the actual position itself.
Yeah, definitely. Take a look, subjects of examination, and it'll give you a little paragraph about what they're going to be testing on.
Great. Okay, any other questions?
One quick one, I hope, and that is, I was looking at some of the rules and policies about like advertising positions and the recruitment procedure. And one of the things we've been talking a little bit about is the accessibility for folks to even know about these positions and to know that to take the exam is even a possibility. So I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about like where these types of postings are announced, and if there's a opportunity to maybe target some of the announcements in ways that could increase the diversity of the applicant pool.
Okay, yes, we always post examinations on the county website under civil service. You'll find, or you could just go to jobs and then scroll down and see all the exams that are scheduled for open positions, or if there is a provisional position. As far as sometimes municipalities, after they post it, after we've scheduled the exam or before we've scheduled the exam, will take out ads. I know we put advertisements in the newspapers. When Mallory was here, she participated in the job fairs. This last year, we didn't get an opportunity. I know Craig and Christy did do presentations at JCC, trying to, recruit people and talk to the schools. I think they did a talk at BOCES, presenting to, best practices for handling your civil service requirements. I would love to do more outreach. If you're having a job fair and you tell us about it, we will we'll have somebody there, to tell people how to apply. I've done presentations at JCC, teaching people how to go on the website, fill out an application. I'm always open to anyone coming to my office and spending an hour reviewing the civil service process, the application process. If they just want an analysis of their job skills or some direction, I'm happy to talk to them about that. You tell me where you need me to be and you need us to be. It's really up to you to ask, though, because I have a limited amount of time and resources, and I'm going to direct them to the things on my desk and the healthcare and the risk management stuff unless I'm asked to be somewhere else.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah. If everybody else okay? No more questions? Okay. Julie and Christy, thank you so much. It cleared up a lot of questions we had, and I think going forward, we have some resources we can look at. So I just like to thank you for giving us your time, and we'll move on in our agenda.
All right. I'll sign off then. Thank you. I'll stop sharing.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I hope that was helpful for everyone. I was just thinking, we've talked about it and we've all had our input, but I just wanted to clear up some of the questions we had. So moving on, we'll move on to Michelle and what she found out about the high school. Michelle?
So I talked to, what?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I spoke with Phil Vecchio or we were emailing back and forth, and he does talk to the students that take the government participation class about civil service. He said he's never done anything as far as trying to like get them signed up to take the test if they're eligible to take the test, but he does try to get them registered to vote. And he's open to any opportunities to try to move forward and help with that if we would like. So.
Great. Okay. I'm next with BOCES. I talked to Matt Satin, excuse me, and he was very helpful. He gave me a lot of information as far as the training they provide. They do work with municipalities. I asked him about civil service, and he said they really don't do like a prep class or anything, but they do, guide them where to go depending on the position that the kids are interested in. He also shows them to go on the website, to look for the positions that would be open. The other thing he pointed out, they do work with municipalities as far as training, say for our wastewater, they've done internships. And he was telling me at any time he would be more than happy to come talk to us. He also suggested at any point where the city starts putting up positions or would be interested in any type of training, he'd be more than happy to help us. And if we wanted to, as a municipality, to put them on our website for a link to what they have available as far as training, they would be more than happy to talk to us about that. So he had some good ideas. And again, if anybody would like him to come talk to us, he'd be more than happy to. Okay, so that's BOCES. Moving on, how about Charlene and Chris on the hiring process? I'm sorry, policy.
I drafted something and sent it out. Did you all not get it?
Yep, I got it. Did everybody get it?
I got it, Charlene.
I got it.
Really good.
And because I was running against the clock, I didn't get Chris's review. So the ball is now in his court for the next piece. You like that, Chris?
I think he can handle it. Does anybody have any questions on what they read?
Nope, sounded good.
I don't have any questions. I thought it was well thought out and put together and articulate and straight to the point. I thought it was really good. Offered a lot of opportunity to actually put something concrete in place.
Yeah, I liked it. Chris, is there anything you wanted to add or something you want to move forward on?
That was part of why I'd asked the question of Julie about the recruitment process for the civil service, because I really liked the kind of the step-by-step pieces of like the notices of vacancies and where they'd be communicated that Charlene put together. And I wanted to make sure that that would actually match up with what the county is willing to do. And it sounds like they would be. The other piece that I sent, and this is not necessarily, and I really apologize, I sent it probably at a time that people wouldn't have seen it. But the piece that I sent was looking at some of the policies around bias and discrimination once someone is employed. And to try to take the next step from the sexual harassment policies that the mayor sent out and include some of the bias and harassment policies on other areas of identity that could be covered.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or any, more input into it? I think, reading what you guys put together and then going back to what our old policies, I think we're moving in the right direction. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to make sure that I understood the lady from civil service correctly. She said that they post the jobs and then the city or the municipality can post the job anywhere that they want to as well, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So where the county advertises really has no bearing on where the city advertises once the job's posted, correct?
Right. Yeah. what years ago, what used to happen is there was actually, excuse me, there was actually a paper posting that came out, and that was distributed in many different places. Now the counties just puts it on their website, and then what we will do is turn around and put it on you know, get it out to all of our employees, and like the fire and police and that, we've been posting them also on our website. But she's right. They used to take out more ads in the paper, but that's, you know, that's not happening a lot anymore. And so I just got a notice the other day, actually yesterday, that they said they're probably going to give the fire department test here. You know, depending on on COVID and Albany. So they haven't sent a official, and they said they'll be forwarding out the official notice, you know, pretty soon. So as soon as that comes out, we will put that, you know, we'll start to distribute that on our sites. The fire department will put it on their Facebook. We'll put it on city Facebook. We'll try to get it out there, you know, as many places as we can. And there, but I, you know, when she mentioned, you know, coming to a job fair and explaining civil service, maybe that's something that we could actually, as we move along here, we could actually host. You know, a job fair, and you know, have them there to answer questions and try to do it. You know, even if it's a virtual job fair, you know, until things get back to, I don't know if we'll ever be back really to normal, but maybe that's something we could do.
Right. You know, the other place we could do something, Bill, is over in the farmer's market. You know, maybe have some tables set up distanced apart, have time slots where people could come, and just have them available for people that are serious about certain jobs, you know, not just open to the public, but maybe have people register ahead of time, and they could be socially distanced, but talk to people. I think the one thing I keep hearing from folks is they're getting tired of Zoom because they rather be in person and things. I'm sure young people feel the same way. So that might be something after the weather gets nice to seriously think about.
I would much rather be sitting in a room with all of you than doing this on Zoom, but
it is what it is.
It is what it is right now.
You know,
but I would be careful about only limiting it to people that you believe are serious. Because I think when you get to a job fair and you open it up and you get people walking around and they're talking to department heads like this, like, you know, from the sewer and in the streets and things like that, you may find somebody who wasn't interested that now is interested.
Yeah.
Or you
I think though too, in doing all this, that me traditionally, when I hear job fair, I think I can go with my resume, fill out an application, drop the resume off. I may be interviewed on the spot, you know, whatever the case may be. That's really not what can take place with these civil service jobs. You know, it would be more of an education, more of a, you know, career fair type thing, or word it, you know, but I would market it a little different if that's something we decided to do. And I would separate the educational piece that that they would do in reference to the civil service test, excuse me, in that process, excuse me, I apologize, because that even that brief run through on that PowerPoint was 30 minutes. And you know, and that was just essentially her leading the conversation. There weren't any real questions until at the end. And once you get to a certain point with people, you know, you hit that 30, 45-minute mark with most people, your average individual is going to start to slip. So my suggestion would be to do them in two separate pieces. Have the educational piece first, and then have that career to expose them to the different jobs, you know, that are available, as opposed to looking at it from the mentality of a job fair. Because again, when I think job fair, anytime I've been unemployed or looking for a new job and I hit a job fair, I'm looking at the possibility of being interviewed on the spot and maybe even walking away from a job that day. And so if I go with that intention and that's not what takes place, I can walk away discouraged. You know, it's just simple psychology.
True. Okay, listen, folks, it's 7:33, and we still had the presentation from Bob, John, and Gary. And did everybody get the information that Bob sent out? He had, I think, 3 or 4 packets that he sent out to us. And I know Bob's not here tonight. So
was
what
that
I'm
from
thinking,
last meeting that he sent that?
He just sent it out. He sent out an email late today.
Yeah, I just got it today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm thinking, go ahead.
One thing I forgot to mention, Phil Vecchio and I were talking, and he's willing to have Chief Richardson come in and speak to his class about like the fire department and what they do. And so I'm also going to try to make that connection as well, just to introduce it to the, the high school kids. So
that's a great idea. Yeah. So John and Gary, since Bob's not on, do you want to put this on the next 2 weeks from now? Then we don't have to rush through it. Bob may be here. Or do you just want to tap into exactly what you think we want to do? It's up to you.
So if I could just jump in, I know I've been quiet here tonight. It's difficult when you're just calling in, and I apologize for that, guys. I would really like to be able to, Gary, myself, and Bob haven't had a chance to be able to sit down and review everything and really kind of talk yet. And so Bob's got a lot of information there without Bob being here. I would prefer to try to get that on the docket for either this weekend or next week and present to you this information at our next meeting. Okay. As far as everything that's been presented, I do appreciate the county civil service people coming in and giving their presentation. It's certainly a lot of information to absorb, but everyone's really presented some great ideas. Well, Bill, Linda, talking about just doing more outreach with the community about municipal jobs. And I think Michelle brought up, getting into the classrooms, right? And I mean, doing that kind of career exploration. That's one of the most powerful things that I talk to my students about, even still as freshmen or sophomores in college, is, okay, you guys are here, but do you know what you're heading towards? What you're getting yourself into? What does that career look like? And if we could do, start getting that, to juniors or seniors, to maybe consider the municipal careers that, instead of always maybe college, well, there's a lot of really great opportunities here in the city, and it just takes effort. So I think that's a great idea too. So thank you for giving me a little bit of 5 minutes here for my spiel.
Okay, so if everybody's good with that, I think what we'll do is for our 2 weeks from now, we'll basically hand it over to John, Bob, and Gary, because I think it's going to be a long presentation. I think it's good that we hit on everything. And I don't think we'd be doing it justice just to zip through it without Bob being here. So if that's okay with everybody else, I will put that on the agenda for 2 weeks from now. And I just want to thank everybody for doing the legwork and coming back with the information. I think Julie did it and Christy did a great job. And Bill, again, thank you for putting that together for me. And if you have any other suggestions in the meantime, think about people that might be willing to come and talk to us about what type of training they offer. That's something else we might want to have a link to on our website, as the gentleman from BOCES had pointed out to me. So with that,
I want to make one more. My mind's just rolling here, but we have an avenue where we can roll out some of this in April. There's going to be the home show. GOACC is putting out a home show, and being a corporate sponsor, we can have a booth. Okay. So maybe this is somewhere where we can, and we tried this, or we did this a couple of years ago with Bob Ring set up and put out what Walkable Olean 3 or 2 and 3 was going to look like. But we could do this with all jobs to give a flavor of what jobs there are in the city. You know, we've got, like I said, wastewater treatment plant, sewer plant. We got fire department, police department. We've got, you know, we've got parks maintenance. We've got all of that. So maybe that's something that we can think about to put together some stuff to have there. And, you know, people come through and they'll stop and talk, and that might be an avenue to start rolling out some of this.
And by then we could have some of our websites, you know, sort of put together so we can direct them to the information. And some of these young people might have their own suggestions to what would be helpful for them. So with that being said,
I think that's,
go ahead, John.
I'm sorry, Linda. Thank you. I think that's a great idea. I think the more community outreach there is, the more we start to break down the barriers that, you know, to get a job, be it whether it's in the county. Obviously we don't have much control over that, but to get a job or a career in the city is not about, you know, who you know, that we're putting it out there, that there's opportunity for everyone. So the more we just make it known and put that out there, I think that'll definitely go far. And I apologize if I missed it earlier, but and maybe this is like how old I am, do like high schools still do like career fairs and like job fairs and stuff like that? Or is that like a thing of the past now that everything is just virtual and online and stuff like that?
Still doing Florida. I don't know about up here.
Yeah.
The only thing that
Michelle, do you have any idea?
No, I know they do one for like the college. Is that like
the only one I know.
That's but I don't know about anything else other than that.
Yeah.
So that's that's
the only one I ever hear about is the big college fair at St. Bonaventure.
Right. That's the one I know about.
JCC.
So that means that.
Yeah, JCC Olean used to do a job fair where the local industries would come in and talk to people. I think they may still do that. But it'd be like Cutco and a dresser and that. So
I'll check with Paula because I just saw her yesterday and we were talking a little bit about this. So I usually see her almost every day at the school. I'll talk to her and see if they have any plans coming up. So what I'll do, how about if we schedule our next meeting for the 27th, and we're going to focus on what Bob, John, and Gary come up with. That gives them time to talk to each other. And that way we're not going to keep running on. I don't want to hold people any longer than we need to. But I think tonight was very productive. And I hope we didn't put so much out there that you just kind of, you know, lost track of things. But I think, as I said, we just wanted to get the information, get us all on the same page. And then going forward, you know, when we come up with ideas, we kind of know where our parameters are and what the county does and what we can do. So I'll just say, you know, thank you again for tonight's meeting. Bill, thank you again for setting that up for me. And we'll see each other on the 27th.
All right, because I got 20 minutes. I got 20 minutes to get home, get in my chair to take my nap before I go to bed. So.
Okay. Don't drive fast.
Everyone have a good night.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night,
Thank you.
Everyone.